start automatically troubleshooting your devices, and they can take up to 15 minutes. You don't have to wait around, though, because we can send you a text message when the troubleshooting is done. Press 1 for the text message option. Or to continue without text message updates, press 2. Thanks. We'll text you once everything is complete. If you have Cox Voice home phone or any other phone services that use your internet connection, they may be interrupted during troubleshooting. The process to troubleshoot your equipment is in the works. If you don't need to talk to us about something else, simply hang up.
AskGunQuestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007, and since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions. GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com. And welcome everybody to another edition, Saturday edition of AskGunQuestions.com, where we attempt to answer gun questions live. So we've got a link out there to Gear Websites. That is our store. I want to thank our Patreons, people that make it possible for us to spend time on projects like this. They keep our websites, dozens and dozens of them up there, paying for the servers every month, paying for the software that we use to build stuff, and the time it takes to build stuff like this. So if you heard at the beginning of this whole thing, I am attempting to get my landline connected. I'm piggybacking off of the phone right now. So that's one of the other things that Patreons make it possible for us to do, is have more than one connection to the internet. It says my internet's back. My other machine is listening to the team house. So if we hear that one come back into service, then we think that that might be the internet coming back. Either way. Oh, speak of the podcast. So if you don't mind, I'm going to jump this one back in over here. Take a moment here. So what we're doing is reconnecting the Cat5 cable to the laptop, which will connect my laptop to the router. The router is connected to my modem, and my modem is connected to the cable company. So the cable company basically unplugged it on their end, plugged it back in. My modem was off. I plugged it back in, plugged the router back in. Now they're talking to each other. And I can go down to a little thingy down here and see what it says. Oh, it says internet access. So what I'm going to attempt to do is turn if we're getting a 5x5 connection or not. But let's get started. So thanks to Lockjaw for showing up, being the first one to say hey live. And then Makojo is out there as well. It does say that there's a bunch of people out there. So if you want to say hey in the live conversation here, feel free to chime in. Otherwise, we'll just dig in. So I'm going to open up the screen share here. And now we're looking at a blank screen. Well, it is Ask Gun Questions after all. So we will bring up the spreadsheet where all the questions go. I did see that a couple of them came in this week. But this week, I did focus it on CCW questions. So if you have any specific questions about personal legal protection with a firearm, feel free to ask them. Not a super expert, but I have spent some time. Again, thanks to our Patreons, being able to spend some time working on a PowerPoint, kind of a presentation, a series of about 10 videos that dig into the topic after some amount of research. And before all that leaves my head, because I have no interest in holding it in my head for too long, I figured I would attempt to go live. I got sick the other week, so I don't get sick too often, but when I do, I get sick. So why isn't this zooming in anymore? I basically was too out of it to do a live chat on the day that Smeggy was going to join in. And then totally forgot about it this week. Just wasn't on my mind, and made some other plans and stuff. So did not have the live conversation I planned on. So we have this Q&A. So if you have any specific questions, feel free to ask them. And I'm assuming that it's working. Everybody's just out there saying hey to each other, but my little thing over here is wiggling, which I'm guessing means that you're hearing what I'm saying. So I'll just dig in. So if anybody doesn't have any, or if anyone has any questions about CCW insurance or personal legal protection with a firearm in the United States in 2022, feel free to throw them out there. Otherwise, we'll just dig into these two. Maybe it'll be a short show. I do invite some other people to join us on these conversations, these Ask Gun Question projects. We'll see if anybody jumps in, but I'm not trying to prove nothing. We'll just do the questions that came in since the last time we chatted and any that come in live here. All right, so the first one is 2022 California. Is it legal to store a loaded gun in your home if it is in a safe? So that's interesting. I wonder how you'd answer that one. So California is one of the states that has the most complicated situations as far as firearms law, as opposed to other states which have less infringement or less interest in regulating what people can do and how they can do it. So California's got the state laws, and then it would have, local laws, I guess, county, state, city laws potentially. And then as far as in the safe, I think you'd probably be fine. In fact, probably most people would think that's a good way to go. However, loaded in there might be the tricky one. I don't know. I don't think I have heard of a problem with having a loaded firearm in California in storage or in place in a home or something, but I'm definitely not an expert on legal law or the nuances of it or the extremes of it. So it's a good one. I don't know who you'd ask. Probably somebody who's paying more attention to the legal firearms laws. So I would normally have said FPC, but they've broadened their scope to more than California at this point. So probably the California forums would be a default. California, what's it called? What is it called? Why can't I think of it now? But that's a good one. I don't know if anybody else who would have joined me would be able to answer that one either, because it's a specific one about California. And their stuff changes quite often. They do have, I think, actually, I don't. Are there any safe storage laws in California? We're not in a big hurry here. Safe storage gun laws. Okay, SAE, how about safe storage gun laws? Gun storage laws by state from some law site here. Massachusetts is the only state with the general requirement to store all firearms in locked place. 27 states have gun storage laws designed. These types of laws can vary. For example, some states like California impose criminal liability if a minor is likely to gain access because it's stored negligibly. So that's an interesting one. That might be a good map. Safe storage gun laws. So what it says to me, though, is since there's only one state that mandates it, tells us that all the other states with all those gun owners that everybody's so worried about, and so many guns, so many a percentage of guns more than the rest of the world, and we're so populated and we get so upset and we're so distracted by the news and blah, blah, blah. And again, almost no issues with it at all. Hardly any accidents at all. Very few crimes of passion, very few just crimes in general. And again, very little negligence. There's some suicide, but if you are suggesting that having a better safe or something for just the guns is going to prevent suicide, then you're lazy and you're not paying attention to actual mitigating factors to suicide, the root causes of it, and you're either intentionally not going after the actual issues or you're unwilling to go after the actual issues. So divert the attention from safe storage, right? If you can. But if you live under safe storage, that would suck. But it looks like only Massachusetts has safe storage. Let's go to gun owners and see what they say about safe storage laws. From 98. Comparing it with seatbelt laws, that's weak. But that's from 98. So an article from 1998. There's a Colorado gun lawyer. This safe requires gun owners to, well, there's one from Colorado claiming that Colorado has it. Effective July 1st, 2021, gun safe storage law requires Colorado gun owners securely do that. Anybody mention that? No, nobody mentioned that. So there you go. So there's now 2 places. So I definitely should make a map about this. Crime research. Is that legit or is that fake? Crime Research Prevention Center, dedicated to conducting academic quality research on the relationship between laws regulating the ownership or use of guns, crime, and public safety. Is this John Lott? Yeah, this is John Lott's project. Then they have a bunch of other people, Nikki Gozer and others. So we'll go back to clicks. So now we know this is, well, pro-gun probably, but pro-moderate. The Ben is frequently assumed that safe storage laws reduce accidental gun deaths and total suicides. While the possible impact of crime is ignored, we find no report of safe storage laws, either juvenile, accidental deaths, or suicide. Instead, these storage requirements appear to impair people's ability to use gun defensively. So this is a deal, I don't know what it's dated, at least 2001, I don't know what date when it's dated. But whatever, it's saying that probably 2014, that gun storage laws are dangerous. But there you go. So interesting question. There's really the only part then would be the loaded part. Doesn't look like California has a law like that unless it's happened since these last 2 articles I found. So it's the loaded part. So I guess we could type that in here. Here's something from South Law, California gun storage laws. To legally transport, people get charged in portable storage. Note that defendants with legal defense keep common accused, showing that more like if you're legal to own it and if the law enforcement was in violation of some of your rights and whether or not it was in a locked container. Doesn't say anything about being loaded in this one thing. This one makes it a crime to keep a loaded gun on your property if you know a minor is likely to get access. So it looks like there might be a caveat to child under 18 getting access. And that's different than a gun lock, because if they know where the key to a gun lock or a gun safe is, then that's the same as having access, right? All right, so next up is I machine my own lowers so I don't have to register them. Nobody has to register them unless you live in a few states. Now I want to build an AR9 the same way with a 7, and since I'm machined, do I still have to register it since it's under 16? Well, all right, so it doesn't say what state, so the state would matter. But the question is, since he sounds like she's making her own lower receivers out of aluminum or something, or plastic, I guess, and then cutting them out, so carving them. And if they're going to be intended for something with less than a 16-inch barrel, then they need to be a pistol. If they intend to have less than a 16-inch barrel on a rifle, then it would have to be that would be the only thing that gets registered as an SBR. But you don't have to register any AR-15 lower that you make unless it's going to be created for an NFA restricted firearm, which would be a short barrel or a full auto. But if you're just making a regular old one, unless you live in a state that requires registration, then you got nothing to worry about there. Now, if they're worried about the new laws, about the new interpretations, then why worry about something that ain't here yet? Spend your effort. Okay, you can spend your time before a bad bill is introduced worrying about how to comply with it, or you could spend that same amount of time creating a resistance that lasts for many future iterations. So spend your time building defenses, and then you don't need to worry about compliance with stupid infringements. The stupid infringements are designed to keep people spinning and to allow certain people to make money while other people are spinning, just worrying about complying. So don't worry about the implications or the consequences of something that hasn't happened yet. Work to prevent it from happening. Work to remove the weird situation, the ambush point, the bottleneck that's created this situation in the first place. Get a bigger perspective on it. It's not about the firearm, and it's not about the nuances of assembly in the future. It's about spending that time to remove the perception that firearms are somehow more dangerous than a knife or gravity or any of the other things that potentially could be harmful that we deal with on a daily basis. So that's the only thing you get when I'm here by myself. I'm not going to just answer it lamely. So there you go. Your help is to not worry about nuances of stuff that hasn't happened yet. Unless you live in a state where something is up, then go find a local forum and get advice from people who know what's going on. Oh, there we go. Okay, and then I got one in email, which I don't recommend because I don't read all my emails like this. In fact, a lot of times these go into spam, but somebody was asking about 7.62x39 ammo collecting, so that caught my eye. And the question was about, I'm wondering if there's, or belt-fed links. I'm wondering if there are any available would fit the 7.62x39. Not looking to use it in a gun, but I was hoping to use it as a man cave as a display. I have a bunch of surplus 7.62 ammo. Will a 7.62x54R link hold 7.62x39? Obviously, I'm not concerned about it ever feeding. I just, I don't own any of these kind of firearms. Or would this technically not be advisable for legal reasons, even if it's just hanging on a display in a private home? So I'm a lifetime gun owner. This surprises me in like 4 different ways. So, I mean, not everybody's going to know the history of the evolution of that round. That's fine. But the 7.62x39 was invented, and the first gun it went into was a belt-fed machine gun called an RPD. So whatever, you don't have to know that, but that's the short answer, is use an RPD belt. They're awesome. That's what I use for my collection. But the parts of this that are also interesting, the 7.62x54R, you know, the 7.62 is the diameter part. So that's the important part. The length of it isn't that big a deal. Now it happens that the 54R is longer, but it also tapers. So it becomes a big cone shape, and those links wouldn't work. But I have used another kind. Maybe I did use 54R now that I'm thinking about it. I know I have used other belts before I got the RPD belts for 7.62. It might have been a 308 belt, though. I might have been using some kind of weird French or England, some kind of metric 308 belt that I found at a gun show that would hold them, but it didn't hold them very well. They fell out of it. So I definitely recommend an RPD. 7.62x54 would be the PKM. You should own a PKM belt because everybody should, but I don't know if they would work. I'm trying to remember now if that's the one I owned or not. I don't think it is. But then the other part of it was she keeps calling these things weapons, right? So what's up with that? Are you a cop? Here's the way I was taught this stuff, and I was probably taught this by a cop. when cops go to school to be cops, right? When they go to police school, they get instructed on things by police that have gone and had experience, right? Have gone on done things on the job. So when they go to court, they want to call everything a weapon because it's to their advantage. Because for lots of reasons, it would be bad idea for police for anybody when they're in court to just be using a lot of slang. So lawyers go to court all the time and cops go to court all the time. So they're used to speaking precisely or with intent, not necessarily precisely, but they're used to speaking with intent so that they create connotation or implication, right? In court. So they're going to call everything a weapon. They're going to call a comb a weapon, and they're going to call a baseball bat a weapon, and they're going to call your fist a weapon, especially when you got karate chopping skills, right? So they like saying that, and it's just a thing that cops do. So if somebody goes to a CCW class that's taught by a cop, 99% of the time, they're going to call every gun they've ever seen a weapon. And if somebody emulates military a whole lot, or they've maybe got somebody in the military who insists on calling everything a weapon, they're going to call everything a weapon. I don't get it. 22s, you could say this all day or night. They're not weapons. Like 22s are basically toys or tools or, I don't know, intermediate things or BB guns, right? Or air guns. Like, where's the line drawn? At feet per second? At type of ignition? Like, that's legal. That's government definitions and laws and stuff. If you're winging stuff fast enough to knock something down, then it's dangerous, right? But going around calling everything a weapon is playing into the antis, and it's creating a perception that I don't think is necessary. So I'm going to call it out. And that's what you're going to get when I'm sitting here by myself, because I'm not afraid to call stuff out. So calling everything a weapon might feel good for some people. It's unnecessary. And I don't know. It's like typing in all caps or yelling all the time, right? You can do it. There's no law against it. But everybody who listens to you is going to go, oh, that's the guy that yells all the time, or that's the guy that types in caps all the time. You can do it. You're just the guy that types in caps all the time. So if you want to call everything a weapon, go around doing that. Like, that's your right. But you're also the guy going around saying weapons all the damn time. And then the other part of it, or would this technically not be advisable for legal reasons, even if it's just hanging on a wall on public display in a private home, or just hanging on a display in a private home? Like, how scary is that? And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to call nobody out. Pretty sure I don't have a name on here or nothing, because man, that would suck. They're not trolling me. I'm pretty sure this was a legit question, but there's no laws against putting something in your house on display. Come on, man. Like, that's sad that somebody's got to think that there might be a law against hanging some ammo collection in your house. I was watching something on a YouTube video from England, and they can't have ammo. Like, they can't have collection. Like, they got to have what is it called? Demilled. They can have projectiles and they can have cartridges, but they got to have like a hole in it or something. There's like, they have to be not fireable. So unless this person is in another country, which is possible, then that's sad. Like, I feel sorry for that. And that's the kind of perception that shows us that the antis are winning. When there's somebody that's either just, new, or just doesn't really pay attention or doesn't have to. I'm not trying to shame nobody, but that's just sad. Like, I don't like the idea that people are thinking that what they're doing might be bad or considered bad by a bunch of bullies who want to, I don't know what their trip is, but they're definitely trying to pressure everybody else with their bully tactics and make everybody feel like something that they're interested in is somehow, wrong or associated with bad. That's just sad. It's mean. Anyway, so that's it. I got that one in email. All right, well, so there, we're done. And I don't think we're getting many questions, so maybe this will be a short one today. Let's see who all showed up. Said Lockjaw was first one to show up. Makojo's out there. DJ's out there. EDC. C&T. Burnaby. Missing anybody? I think that's everybody. Just my opinion, but personally, as a gun owner, my responsibilities travel with me where I go. I think I am more aware than the average person. Just my opinion. Well, then I'm caught. I think that they go hand in hand, right? Like, nobody, I guess that's not true. Most people, I think, decide to carry a gun because they've started paying attention. and they go, oh, okay, since I'm paying attention and I'm rational, I'm going to carry a gun around. It's a decision I made. There's some people that are like, hot damn, I can own a gun, I'm buying a gun. Oh, what am I going to do with it? Oh, I'm going to carry it around. Okay, great. You're allowed to do that. I don't have a problem with that. But I don't think that's the majority of people. That's just some people who dig it. But I think most people make the decision to carry that tool and all the responsibilities and obligations that come with it because of that. So I get you. And I don't know if that makes you more aware than the average person. I don't like that like division kind of thing. I know what you're trying to say, but I think the average person knows when they hear something to book out of the way. It's just that not everybody, goes down the direction of realizing that, they can do more than just run out of the way, or they can do more than just get on their phone and make a video of it. Not that there's anything wrong with making a, video of stuff. Just be aware that people are making videos of stuff, right? Let's see. Gun responsibility falls on you at all times. Yep, definitely. Falls on everybody though. And that's why it's sad that they're not allowing awareness of that. Let's say you're walking down the street and somebody drops trying to think of what else could be dangerous, like a saw, right? Like just a hand saw with the blade protector knocked off of it. So literally the saw teeth are out there. Like that's dangerous. What about a circular saw, a blade from a circular saw? Somebody's driving down the road and they got all their junk in the back of their truck and it's sloppy or something happens and there's an accident. Somebody forgot to clasp something in a toolbox and a bunch of circular saw blades come flying out of there. Now, I'm not talking about something like diamond blades for like a ceramic, but I'm talking like, some wicked wood, basically a bunch of chisels and around like, giant Chinese stars flying around streets. And now they're laying around and some kid's going to pick that up. Do you teach your kids like, hey, when something is super sharp and laying around a bunch of rust on it or filth, you don't pick it up, right? How hard is that? But how often do kids get that opportunity with guns and stuff? Guns are just in movies and TV and they're all sensationalized. It's ridiculous. So it's sad that they're setting that up to setting everybody, attempting to set it all up to be that's everybody's only influence. So it falls on all of us, but we're the ones who are willing to address it and have done massive efforts. Look at the NRA's efforts since the mid 80s, since 1984, when what's her face, Marion Hammer, who everybody doesn't really like anymore, created, first female president of the NRA, created the Eddie the Eagle program and got it going. That was something that was in kind of opposition or to challenge some of the perceptions that were trying to be created back then by a bunch of people who didn't realize there was a culture war starting or in the works. So since then, there's been lots of other efforts from the community outwards, from NSSF with their Child Safe, which I often disagree with, and then you've got Faster, organization out of Ohio, focused on letting educators learn how to react to stress and emergencies, and then Kid Safe, Derek out in Oregon. Lots of projects out there. You've got Appleseed, Riding Shotgun with Charlie just had a dude on from Appleseed, and Revere's Riders, who also educate kids in safety. So there's been lots, and then let's not forget 4-H and all the local hunter safety classes, which do probably a majority of all the effort. The local shooting ranges and gun shops and stuff that do their own individual efforts. All of those have created a lack of accidents and awareness that, has been, completely ignored, but unprecedented, I guess I would say, just because the number of firearms and the accessibility or the ease. Look at all these people that can barely deal with the grip angle of a Glock, have to have their 9mm all smooth and silky and easy to slide or whatever, because they don't have any wrist strength anymore. Well, that's basically making these firearms easier and easier and easier for the most delicate of like weak humans to operate. Now they're little babies, and all these guns laying around with all these babies, and there's still no bad stuff happening. But the bad stuff that does happen, let's blame on the antis and their inability to rationalize the idea that firearms awareness and safety is something that they could easily teach in school without any kind of weird connotation, the same way that they teach hey, don't touch a hot stove, or don't stick forks in the electric, and don't stand in front of cars when they're driving, right? Don't shoot 9mm. All that stuff should just be basic kids education. Let's see. Going into the ranch and shooting some frustrations using firearms as therapy, range therapy, is what they call it. Saying how many people are uninformed about existing gun laws or gun laws that are being pushed through Congress. Well, that's because there's a constant flow of that, and people are probably aware that there's a constant flow, and they probably are aware based on the number of people that are paying attention to the constant flow, and how often those people get upset is probably how they gauge the reaction. Same way I don't really pay attention to new optics that come out until all the people that constantly paying attention to optics say, oh, everybody's got to look at this. This is revolutionary. That'll happen once in a while, and then everybody goes, more people go over and look at it. Or when Kel-Tec came out with the bullpup shotgun dual tubes thing, everybody was like, oh my goodness, now you got to look at these shotguns. Like, nobody cared about shotguns. Still nobody cares about shotguns. But for the 5 minutes that came out in the 2015s, somewhere back then, 2017, whenever that came out, everybody cared about shotguns for like a minute. So I think it's the same with 2A and all these laws. Nobody in their right mind is going to pay attention to every politician's every action, because then they can distract us. They could literally swamp us in action by just winging a bunch of foul balls at us, or whatever sports is, just shooting a bunch of garbage at us. And if we pay attention to everything, if we all stop what we're doing, so we have to get better at having a system in place where those folks who are watching don't cry wolf every time something happens, at the same time get listened to, so that when things happen and they can all go, hey. So maybe the trick is to have a couple of indicators. There's a couple of people that just tell you about everything that happens. And then there's a couple of people that only perk up when it's important. And then you got other people who only come up and tell you about when it already happened, the observers. So it's getting a perspective on that. So I've been doing this too long to say how many people are uninformed. Nah, we got more people informed than we've ever had. We've got more gun owners than we've ever had. Do we have more laws going against us than we ever had? I don't even think so. Think about California in the 70s, and think about California in the 90s. Think about the federal laws in the 90s. We have some things coming against us, but we got a ton of people pushing out in so many different directions that what we have is people uninformed about the number of people that are working on our side. And then a few people with large audiences that focus on the hype and can make a lot of attention about the couple of things. Is there CCW insurance you recommend? I've been with USCCA for 5 years. All right, so that's really what the show's supposed to be about. No, I don't think I can. So I'm going to open up the file here and explain why. So mainly because there's a lot of different options. I think that there's not a clear winner, and that's just because there's so many different people out there, so many different ways to approach the needs of those people, that it's more like dinner. There's not one dinner that applies to everybody. There's not one shirt that applies to everybody, because sometimes you need a different shirt than other times. Sometimes you want to eat something different for dinner. So if I can find where I put it, I would have thought I put it there, but I guess I didn't. Did I put it here? Nope. Oh, so I probably put it in here. Look at that. So it's probably just the big one. And we'll just open it, and we'll open it over here. All right, so if I can get my mouse to work better. Actually, I don't even need this anymore. So thanks to everybody who does ask questions on the askgunquestions.com website. As the beginning of the show mentioned, we've had that open for a long time. It'll stay there. And it's just a form. You can just fill out a gun question in there. And on Saturdays, we get together and answer the questions. All right, finally got this thing up. So USCCA is, one of many options. It is insurance as opposed to like some kind of a fund or prepaid legal. And the only real big negative that I see on USCCA is the recoupment thing. So there's a part of their fine print or in their thing that says, if you're found guilty, they have the right to come back and ask you for all the money that they spent back. So they want it back. And I don't know if that's like if they've done that a lot or if it's just something they put in there, but nobody else has it in there, and everybody else makes a point of saying that we don't do that. Where USCCA, and I don't pay that much attention to it, so I don't know if anybody knows any details about that. That's the one negative thing about USCCA. The other thing, of course, is the states that it's covered in. It's got good coverage, but New York, New Jersey, and Washington State, you can't get it in. So if you live in one of those states, go. As far as cost, it looks like it's pretty much in the middle. There's none of them I don't think are expensive, or I mean, they range from 130 to what 200 a year at the minimum, at the low end. I guess USCA is technically the most expensive, but it's 300 instead of 135. But that's almost apples and oranges there. So I guess comparing it to something similar, it's I guess it's more expensive. You get the membership in the thing. They probably weighed against that. The thing is, a lot of these are cheaper as plans, but the reason they're cheaper as plans is because they're kind of a la carte. So you start with a cheaper base, and then you add things like this one. You add for, well, I got to find how to find all that. Spouses on some of them cost more, and dependents can cost more, so that way their prices are cheaper. So if you're single or you don't need, spouse coverage or something like that, then you're not paying for it in the plan. So if you're paying a little bit more and spouses are included, but then your spouse has a plan also, you're both paying to cover each other, but you're also not. You know what I mean? So it's sort of a waste. I could sit here for hours. So if you have a more specific question or whatever, but I'd say I'm not going to tell anybody that they're on the wrong plan. They all seem like they're okay. I haven't seen anything in my research that said, don't use this one because it's so bad. The only thing I did find in my research is this part down here. I'll mention that again. These affiliates, almost all of them, except for Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. I'm pretty sure all the other ones, though, offer some sort of kickback to people who send you their way, which is fine. It's capitalism and whatnot. It works, especially if you believe in the product. But what it ends up being is commercials for each one. And nobody really does so much of a objective look at the different things as much as they point, they handpick all the good parts about the one they like and assume that you're the person who needs all those particular things. And, that's not the case. Somebody who is a lawyer doesn't need a choice of lawyer, right? Like, it would make sense that somebody who has some resources doesn't need some of these resources. Somebody who's not interested in the training aspect of it may not be interested in some that focus a big chunk of it on the training. Other people who aren't interested in going to take training might be interested in having some opportunity to get up training in some of these legal matters as part of their membership or something, if that makes sense. Just covered it in a video. We'll be giving young people the keys to a 3,000 pound, let them drive 70 miles in traffic. Think young people are too dumb to handle firearms. I've always said that, and I think that's a good one. People don't like it when you compare guns and firearms, but that's people that don't get metaphors or analogies or whatever those are. There's pretty much the same number of guns and the same number of firearms in this country. So if you think about it, I know a couple of people that have like 5 or 6 cars. Maybe they have a couple of cars and a few motorcycles, if you count boats and things like that as being sort of like a, musket or archery. Some people are going to have adjacent things that are really similar. So I think guns and cars are similar. Being in similar quantity is interesting, because if you think about it like that, and their distribution is probably not quite the same, because more people probably have cars than have guns, maybe. But, well, I don't know. So that's a tough one. But what I think is interesting is if you were to drive certainly if you were to drive through a town, if I was to drive through Tucson or through Phoenix, I'm driving past as many cars as I'm driving past that many guns. As many people who own those cars, I'm driving past that many people who own all those guns. And are you scared of all those cars? Like any one of them cars driving at you, like you say, can kill you. Any one of them cars driven recklessly could hurt a lot of people or just be reckless, cause havoc, and make it difficult for people who want to do their business or whatever. Um, each one of those requires highways that require tons of resources and infrastructure. If we didn't have these cars, we wouldn't need those highways and infrastructure. If we had some other means of transportation, or if the government just transported us around, we'd only need one lane of traffic, right? The government would do it right, and we would need to pass each other. So the government would only need one lane of traffic, or some kind of awesome monorail that could scoot us around when they decided it was time for us to be scooted around. But no, we are okay with that. And the whole idea that somebody can just get in their car and go nuts, that's often overlooked by everybody. It doesn't matter how dangerous a car is, it's just the fact that it gives you the opportunity to go do whatever you want at any moment. Well, do you take the opportunity to do anything you want at the spur of the moment without repercussions at any moment, without consequences? That's ridiculous. So why would the difference in property ownership be any different, right? So yeah, a lot of people don't like that analogy, but I definitely like it. You also think of the fact that somebody driving 70 miles an hour, well, let's think of somebody driving 35 miles an hour down a city street, looking at their phone, trying to figure out with a text, where she's going to be or which corner he said to turn on. And they're looking at their phone and not who's walking across the thing. And the mom who's on her thing isn't looking at the little baby in the stroller, because moms constantly pay more attention to their phone than the strollers. And now there's a stroller in front of the parking garage entrance, and other person's on the text, and now, right? But is it the gun, is it the car owner who's at fault, or is it the individual, or is it the car, right? Like, so there's that whole thing. And then there's just the driving down the road and you have a heart attack. How many people know when they're having their heart attack? Heart attacks kill more people than anything, period, on the whole planet for all the time. Heart attacks. Our pump gets old and dies. Sometimes choices of what you've done or decided to feed it kill it, right? Sometimes disease will kill it. Lots of things kill that pump, and when that pump dies, you freak out and you spasm, and maybe you pass out, maybe you die instantly, maybe you just start freaking out. But if you're the driver of any vehicle with pedestrians, how do who decides what pedestrians are near you when you decide to have your heart attack and freak out, start wiggling the steering wheel back and forth? What's the potential of that? Like, anybody could happen at any time. Look how many cars are out there. Do we start freaking out and magnifying that potential, or do we chill and realize that all of history shows us that the potential for that is far outweighed by the actual history of that never happening? That when that happens, it's a crazy outlier. So yeah, I think that cars and guns are awesome together. It's like Reese's peanut butter cups. Anybody who doesn't see it hates peanut butter or hates chocolate or hates them both together. They are a great resource when traveling. So are cars. They offer tons of training and information materials. Oh, you're talking about USCCA. So that's what I'm saying. So that's, I think, why people who buy the USCCA, they're buying the membership in USCCA. And at this point, the insurance is a perk, and they've outsourced their insurance to another company. I think they always did, but they made a big point of outsourcing it because they really didn't want to make that the feature. You weren't buying USCCA because it's insurance. You just get insurance as being part of the organization. They're definitely trying to offer an alternative to the NRA's firearms instruction, infrastructure, and opportunities and resources. And then, of course, the industry event that they do every year. So they've got their focus on other things. They've always been more of a membership organization than anything else. So that's what they're looking to offer. And this was just a feature of theirs. But it's a feature that, like I say, except for that one clause, which is often only brought up by people who are selling a different service. And USCCA, I'm not going to tell you they've ever done me. I mean, they did me well for years, and then they turned on me and didn't do me well at all. So they're not my favorite personally, but I'm not talking shit about them. They seem to offer people what they're talking, what they offer. Stepped on a nail once. I should sue the manufacturer. Well, first off, whoever made you walk down wherever you were walking is at fault. Also, your shoes are at fault. Whoever made those shoes let you down and is at fault. The nail company was reckless, and whoever put the nail in there is also at fault. The floor, I'm not sure if they're at fault, but let's sue them anyway. And then we'll talk about the fact that your aid that was given to you after the fact didn't show up fast enough and it wasn't enough. So they're pretty much at fault also for letting you down. I feel bad that you got let down in so many ways and that this happened to you. You're welcome. Let's see. NRA is full of crap. Always been for a little bit. Come on, man. Who are you talking to? NRA is $345 million. Who are you being duped by? There's $10 million organizations that are going to do what? They couldn't scoop up the shadow of the NRA. So what are you talking about? Hunting? Are you talking about lobbying? Are you talking about legislative push? Or are you complaining about 12 dudes sitting in a room and their suits? Come on. Are you saying Wayne LaPierre is better than you? Us? I don't think so. NRA is a massive organization that's lasted for 150 years, and for the last 30, it's been steered by doofuses. Are you going to throw away the aircraft carrier because the captain's a dickhead? Or are you going to push him out of the way and take back your aircraft carrier? I'm not interested in people watching the aircraft carrier sink because of some dipshit is running it. I'm willing to figure out a way to get up there and push that guy out of there. I don't care if nobody else is. There's a couple of people that are with me, and I don't need everybody on board. You can all watch us shoot, play around with the aircraft carrier when we're done. How about that? But there's 3 museums full of the humans' possessions that I'm not watching sink with the aircraft carrier. There's a whole hunting infrastructure. I'm not watching that die because of some jerk is carrying it around. When you look at deaths from young children drown in their homes. Yeah, well, let's not look at it. Let's look at the positive stuff too. Let's see. I'll have to ask him about that. Thanks for mentioning. I don't know about that. So I don't know if you're talking about asking USCCA. I don't know if there's anything to ask. I think it's more of just something that they put in there. Where we're talking about, if we're talking about the, what's it called? Recoupment. I think that's put in there because they don't want somebody who's a criminal to get a coverage, right? I think that's why they would put it in there. But what happens, from what I understand, listening to lawyers talk about this, is if you are in a state with mandatory minimums, and there are some states with mandatory minimums. Have I put that list up already? So a couple of states started mandatory minimums for drugs, and then other people were like, oh, if it worked for drugs, let's do it for guns too. And where did I put it? I know I made the map already, but I don't know if I had a chance to put it in here yet. I guess I have to spell it right. So mandatory minimum sentencing, we got it in a 10-year minimum in the Gun Control Act in 1968. Then the Armed Career Criminal Act added a 15-year sentence for felons who commit crimes with a firearm, of violent felony or a serious drug offense. And then you've got 1986 using a ballistic knife. I guess that doesn't happen very often, but that one's in there. And then in 1998, whatever this is called, they don't have a fancy name for it, but Section 924C of Title 18, so I think just the part of the federal code that talks about punishments and stuff, says you have to have 5 years for having a firearm during an offense, 7 years for brandishing a gun, 10 years for discharging a firearm, 25 for a second subsequent, 30 years for a machine gun, and life for a second or subsequent conviction. So this was sort of like, at first it was, you're going to get a 10-year minimum, and then it was like 3 strikes and you're out, and then they mixed it into 5, 7, 10, 25, 30 life, where they came up with this like series of incarceration mandatory minimums based on how they sentence you, I guess. And then the last one was armor-piercing ammo requires a 15-year added to your sentence as of 2005. That's at the national level, federal level. At state levels, California has a 3-strike law starting in 1994, and then Florida has that 10-20 life business also. So those are the mandatory minimums. Let's say that you're jaywalking across the street and they charge you as violent felony jaywalking, and I'm using that as a silly example because I don't know lawyer stuff, but when you listen to lawyers talk about this concept of USCCA offering this clause that says that if you're found guilty, that they're going to require you to pay for your own coverage. If you go into jail or into court and they're charging you with something or another felony with a gun, and they say there's a mandatory minimum there, we got to send you to jail for 5 years. Or if you plead guilty to something else, then we're not going to charge you with this one, and we'll only charge you guilty on this other one, and then you can blah, 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 get out of here. Well, if you say, oh yeah, I'd rather get out of here, let's do that. Well, then potentially they say, oh, you got found guilty, give us all your money back. Give us all that money back. And that would be the suck part. Now, you'd still be out of jail, but you'd be out all that money and you wouldn't really have insurance. You'd have gotten a loan, basically, and you'd have got a lawyer's helped out, but you'd still owe all these lawyers all that money. So that would be the situation. Now, I don't know. Like I say, I've heard that scenario played out. I don't know of it actually having been played out in that way, if that's just a potential or if that's something that's ever happened. But it's interesting, and one of the reasons that, like I said, I think that it can be so confusing, because when you just say, oh, they've got that clause in there, but don't worry about it, there's that flip to it, or that angle. All right, well, it's that. I guess we're right about an hour, and there's no more questions coming in. So I guess we answered or focused a little bit on the CCW stuff. This is all over on the Minuteman University site. There's a section in here for concealed carry insurance, and got this information as well as some more specific information about the different options that are available. Like I say, I'm not really selling any of them. I think we do have affiliates with a couple of these, but I don't really put links out there. So like I said, I've kind of dabbled with it in the past. I don't have a problem with any of them specifically. And I don't know that it's urgent that everyone gets one. If you do have specific questions while it's still in my head, feel free to ask them. We'll address them as possible. We can always contact people. It's not that interesting to me. So at first I was thinking I could try to schedule interviews or do something with meeting with people from different organizations and asking them specific questions. But if it's not that important to people out there, if people aren't asking questions about it, then we'll just let it go. Like I say, I'm not trying to sell them to you. I just wanted to make it clear. We had a new one come up this year, and it's been something that's been kind of a question mark since my experience with being online with guns kind of coincides with this whole phenomenon. If you look, the first one came along was the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. It used to be called the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Fund back in the day. And in 2008, it was just before YouTube, I had been doing a lot of training back then. If we go over to After Action, .net, which is where I keep all my firearms. There's an afteraction.com now. So afteraction.net. Back in 2008, I had been just getting done with all kinds of training in 6, attending a lot of classes in 7 as an auditor. I'd been doing reviews on this website and on the forums and stuff for these different classes. Really started to appreciate going to classes and meeting instructors. And then in 2008, in May, I attended, somewhere in here, I attended Masada Yub for the first time, and that was pretty awesome. So I finally met, I guess it was 2009. So it would have been in 2009. So they started it in 2008. I had been going to all this different training. I started going to training without realizing what it was. I started to really enjoy it and enjoy experiencing the classes and the students, the instructors and the classes, I should say, go into the different ranges. Almost all of these are at different ranges around the South. And then in 2008, that was sort of my thing at this point. I had started to meet a lot of the instructors, and they knew that if they were coming to Arizona, that I would be there filming. Camera back then. There was no video yet. Very few videos, like little bursts of video, like seconds worth of video, and it was low resolution. So very little video, and that's why they appreciated what I was doing, offering an insight, an after action summary. That's what this whole site was for. It's been around since back then. And this is pretty much when I started Ask Gun Questions, right? 2007. So in 2008, we're digging this. We started to travel. In 2009, we went to the NRA show in Phoenix, and then went to SHOT Show out in Florida. Met Masad Ayub out there. He invited me to go to his course because I was all into taking classes and stuff. I met Masad Ayub. He invited me to go to this class, and then turned out that we had some friends, some people in common. So I started going to his classes more often. And in 2010, the two of us we were both had articles featured in a magazine, in a book. So we kind of were getting, to know each other. And this is when Armed Citizens Legal Defense Fund was first initiated. So I was not part of it or nothing, but I was definitely a part of trying to get the word out about it. So for me, this was not necessarily my beginning online, but if you look at 2009, that's when YouTube started. I mean, we got on YouTube a little bit earlier than this, but this is when YouTube kind of started. And by 2010, they were paying us. And by 2011, that whole thing was kicking in. So I was trying to get people aware of this Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. And then in 2009, US Law Shield was Texas Law Shield. And then around 2011, I'm guessing, is when they kind of came to the scene with CCW Safe, USCCA emulating what Texas Law Shield had become. And then kind of all came to the scene as YouTube pushed in. So for me, this has been an interesting thing to experience, just as I was experiencing growth and able to see, I've been doing this for a while. So I've been watching the others, the peers, other people doing YouTube and other people creating content out there, and their relationships with some of these. And some of the people, if you've been paying attention for a while, you can see who attach themselves to some of these and how some of these have created large entities, and some of them haven't taken that opportunity. It's been really interesting. So for me, it's been interesting to kind of watch this stuff grow. And then somewhere probably around 2015, I stopped giving a crap anymore because it wasn't that interesting, and I'd only been watching it in my peripherals. And as you can kind of tell, nothing really happened after 2015. From 2011 to 2015, there was kind of a 4-year spurt there. And if you think about what was happening in real life, the end assault weapons ban, we started to get ammo again. We started to see states get more and more concealed carry. Not a reason. There was more concealed carriers. There was a reason to offer them this insurance, this concept. And then basically there was kind of a plateau there where, everybody got 9mm, had a bad taste in their mouth. They were really sick of shooting. They started questioning their individual freedom because of 9mm. And everybody got sick of this stuff. And then NRA came along. Their carry guard was unsuccessful. And now to see right to bear come up out of nowhere in 2022, 7 years later, kind of perked my interest. So I decided to dig in. I don't know, spent way too long, probably about 3 or 4 days researching, and then another couple of days just putting it into this format, which took a little while. And attempting to look completely at everything that's going on out there, not just comparing the prices, because that's really just an aspect of it, but what people expect and what they get from it, and then the reasons why these things even exist, and how well they're doing, and the lack of awareness on that. Like, they don't really tell us how many cases they've dealt with and their success rates, and nobody talks about that. So I don't know how to find out that information. Let's see. I think that's about it then. So thank you, and thanks for showing up live. This one will last just about an hour, it looks like. Tara's saying I'm doing a contest, best SHTF meal. Rules posted in the Discord, on her Discord. All dry goods, canned goods, nothing that requires electricity if you're a few weeks into a disaster. And then what you're going to do, like cook whatever, create or prepare whatever the winning suggestion is, I think is what you were saying. So yeah, if you're interested in going to Discord, check it out. G23 is saying, yeah, it's just CCA. Like I say, I don't know. I think I don't know. Like, I think it'd be neat to have a discussion with different people and talk about bat it around, like what the different pluses and minuses are. But there's honestly just too many of them. I don't have a way to present it. Like this one's good for this or this one's good for this. To some extent, I think it's kind of like what the heck is the name of that thing with all the little pegs and then the marbles come bouncing around? To some extent, you have to kind of look visualizing on this chart at least, kind of look through and see, spouse coverage. If you care about civil damages, like civil damages, go into court and you're going to go to court for if you're going to jail, and then you're going to go to court for whether you owe somebody money. So you're going to go to court for criminal court. And then depending on the outcome of criminal court, you're also going to go to defense court or civil court. So criminal court is what you did lawful? And whether or not it was, whatever you did has consequences. And if you pushed over somebody's hot dog cart in the process of defending your life, you still pushed over somebody's hot dog cart and they might sue you because of their hot dogs. Hot dog people are like that. And now you may have to decide, if you're going to end up paying damages to some hot dog cart, you don't know what kind of fancy hot dogs they were pawning off there. These were solid gold hot dogs or whatever, diamond buns. So now all of a sudden you're on the hook for a whole bunch of hot dog recuperation. Some of them don't cover any coverage at all. Others cover like a $2 million or something. But some people tell you that that's all smoke and mirrors, that nobody gets sued, or at least if you get sued, nobody gets damages against them. So that it's one of those like, oh, look what we offer, a whole bunch of nothing. So it's one of those things that I can't give you the actual deal. I can just give you some of the stuff that I've discovered in the discovery of it or in the research of it, I guess. All right, now I'm just talking in circles. Oh, there's Maggie. Did you want to jump in? Did you have any specific questions? I know I kind of blew you off 2 weeks in a row on this. But that's a good idea. Thinking people should rank what they think is like the top 3 things and then find the one that does that. That would be interesting. There's probably a way to do that. I really don't think price is that big a difference personally. Like I say, the USCCA is a little bit more, but all the other ones are pretty much the same price. And USCCA offers a bit more than the others, so there's a reason for their like extra $100 or whatever. But the other ones are kind of petty. Like, oh, they have a $20 charge. Big deal. The choice of attorney, that might be a big issue, and that's not consistent. But that kind of thing. Let's see, you still have to pay for the lawyer to get you off. Civil or criminal charges cost money. Well, the thing is, almost all of them have the same coverage for both this criminal and civil defense. The cost of the lawyer is pretty much the same. It's just that the damages part, some of them are like, the damages are on you, and the other ones say, oh, we'll give you $2 million for damages. So USCCA costs more, but they give you $2 million in damages. The other ones probably figure nobody gets sued and loses damages, so we're not going to bother covering them. Therefore, our coverage is $135 a year, something like that, or $100 a year. I think that's part of I don't know if you want to call it like it's part of your decision making. I don't want to call it a gamble because there's data here that we don't know, so it's not really a gamble. It's just a prediction or a choice. Some people don't let people sued if they were found innocent. Exactly. And if that's the case for most people, I'm guessing that's why we don't see all kinds of crazy criminal damages. And when we do, we see the extreme examples. Oh, all the best ones. Okay. So I don't know if Maggie wanted to jump in or not. I guess I'll just do this. Delete it real quick if he wants to jump in. Otherwise, that was it. We had a couple of questions in the database, and then the one that came in from email. Then, did anybody have one in here? Mostly just CCW insurance ones. I'm trying to call it personal legal protection because they're not all insurance is the thing. Some of them are funds and some of them are hybrids for sure, and some of them are prepaid legal. Texas Law Shield. I kind of like the Law Shield one, but I haven't pulled the trigger, so to speak, on it. But it seems like on my list, it's on the top 3 for sure. But I would go with U.S. Law Shield, not Texas, because I don't even know if there is a Texas. There might actually still be a Texas, but it might just be the local branding of it also. I think they did just completely change. Did you have anybody on later today? Is today when you have Jake on from Talk America? So I think you said you had him on the 10th or the 12th. Oh, no, that's probably today then. So Talk America is an organization started in 2017, I think. And their goal is to, well, was at first to create kind of awareness of mental health for the firearms community. But in addition to that, they've found out that there was a lack of awareness on the medical side of firearms owners and what it's like, you know, the situation of firearms owners. For example, being a firearms owner, we might be concerned about an extreme risk protection order. The idea that someone who deems us incompetent with any kind of authority or perhaps even anonymously could somehow determine our ability to own property, right? Let alone all the other connotations to it. But mainly, you know, we're concerned about our ability to own property since that's something that's out of our hands. And the perception there is that it's a dangerous open trigger, right? It's a trigger without a trigger guard. And Walk Talk America has been effective at letting the medical community know about that, which they had no perception of, and to go beyond just awareness, but then to create a whole division or a whole, I don't know what it's called technically, but like a whole part of, like a whole field of medical, what am I trying to say, of mental health practitioners who now can take a class and be uptrained in being a firearms owner in modern United States. So in other words, they started out to just effort to do something towards mental health awareness from the firearms community's side without help of the NRA, without like any of the big 3-letter organizations. They just said, let's try something here based on a conversation in an airport, like a casual conversation, a question by a non-gun person to a gun person. Well, what are gun owners doing about those suicides? And then it was like, well, what are we doing? And after looking around, Mike, the guy who started it, said, well, there's probably more to be done. Let's put some effort into it. And as they explored that, it's developed into the idea of creating or lowering the barriers to mental health, like creating awareness of the whole concept of mental health. You know, people might be like, oh, my shoulder hurts. And then 2-3-4 days later, a week later, they're like, my shoulder still hurts. It's time to see a doctor. But not everybody says like, I'm getting angry, or like, I'm blowing this off too much, or whatever. I don't know what things are people might have. But, you know, people don't think about that aspect of their health. This is just some tools, some awareness, some strategies, some effort to make awareness for that, and to offer tools and resources for folks that might be questioning if they need to talk to somebody, or if, you know, if this stress is more than I'm used to, or if this situation is something that's bugging me more than, how can I tell? How can I tell anonymously? How can I tell with a valid test to see? So they've got some tools on their website that people can use to determine if they are stressed out, or if they're having stuff they might want to work out or figure out, or whatever happens. The same way you might diagnose yourself, like, is this a heart palpitation, or is this from the Monster Energy drink I drank earlier? Or is this from, you know, raking leaves, or is this from working the jack on the truck the other day. Like, it's that kind of concept for mental health. And that might be like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't think about that. But, you don't get to think about what everybody else is thinking about because most of us haven't had the life experience of everybody else. So it's pretty interesting topics. And when we think about 2 out of every 3 deaths with a firearm, 6 out of every 10 times that somebody dies in this country, 6 times out of every 10 times, it's a suicide. So the lazy, worthless, anti-gun assholes want to just take the item away. Well, if they're dying from guns, take the gun away. That suicidal individual who still needs help has got knives and stairways and swimming pools and ovens and poisons and all the other horrible things that can be done to a human to make us stop breathing. All of that stuff's available to them. Those worthless, lazy a-holes walk in, take away the gun, or write with a pencil and make somebody else come in and take away the gun, create more stress in that person's life, and that's their solution. We figured it out. We're taking away the one piece of property that we don't like, and they're better. Well, fuck them. That's not better. So these guys at Walk Talk America are efforting from the gun community without the help of the NRA, which so many people are willing to watch burn, but without the help of any organization, just through individual with some support effort, cutting new ground and digging into that in a unique way. So definitely worth checking out. And I believe that G23 will be talking to Jake. So the physician side of Walk the Talk America, Mike is the gun side, kind of, and he started it in 2018, I guess. So it's only a couple years old, but in that time, they've probably done more work than a lot of the other organizations who are a little bit older than them have done in ways that, like I say, are just not just cutting new ground, but effective new ground. Because if you think of those 22 deaths, well, I shouldn't say that way. Those 6 out of 10 deaths that happen with a firearm is 22, well, it's 64 a day. That's a shit ton. 64 people commit suicide every day. Think about that. 64 people. I don't even know how many that is while we're having this conversation. It's a big country, so don't freak out. It's a lot of people, though. 22 of those 64 are using a firearm. No, excuse me, 22 of those people are veterans. So we don't know how many people are using a firearm. Somebody can do the math on it. It's some number as a firearm. I'm not that morbid. I don't obsess about this stuff. But when you think about the idea that most of the people that are committing suicide, a good chunk of the people committing suicide, choosing to decide to do that, are veterans, are doing it for more than just like, I got nothing else to do today, but some serious issues. And they're being let down by lots of people. Again, this is about the worst, laziest, distractive, destructive, worthless answer is to just remove the firearms or whatever. So anyway, Walk Talk America is battling that, giving people better skills than I'm giving you to talk about it. But glad to see that G23 is focusing on it. I'm definitely going to be hanging out watching that as I do some other stuff around here. I guess we'll end it. Smeggy didn't want to jump in. Sorry again for not being available last two Tuesdays ago. Been forgetting about it this Tuesday. If you do want to still get together on a coming up time, let me know. And while it's still in my head, we can go over those questions that you might have had. Otherwise, if you've got questions out there and you're not Smeggy, you're still able to ask them. Leave them in the comments wherever you happen to find this video. I've been posting a lot of stuff on UGE Tube lately, Utah Gun Exchange. Maybe it's going to be United Gun Exchange at some point. Pretty cool platform focused on First Amendment, free speech, and then definitely has carved out a place for Second Amendment there. So I've been posting a lot of my stuff over there. If you're listening over there, give me some feedback. Leave a comment and let me know what kind of stuff you'd like, because I have a lot of stuff and I haven't put it all over there yet. I also post the stuff on GunTube and on GunStreamer. So if you're listening on one of those platforms, leave us some comments. I do watch the comments on all the platforms. However, we just don't get as many comments over on those other platforms. Right on. So thanks for being, what's the word? Like, not holding it against me for flaking out on you, but we'll definitely offer as much of this info as I can. Like I say, before it leaks out of my head. I have another project in the works, and I did a whole bunch of maps. So many maps. Want to see how many maps? I can literally show you right now. So I went in and did a lot more maps. There's everything from that little, whatever that thing is, down, are all new maps that have been put up. So couple of new videos to deal with that, and a bunch of different posts and stuff. So all this stuff went through my head since the CCW stuff. So it's definitely leaking at this point. I definitely am not good at retaining this stuff for long, especially when it's not all that interesting to me. Like I say, it's been a passing interest, and now that I've got it all figured out again, I'm going to forget about it as fast as possible and move on. There's all kinds of other stuff to pay attention to. This is just one of those facets. All right, with that, I hope everybody has a good rest of the week. There's a bunch of people watching. Anybody who wants to jump over to our store, feel free. Right now, we've got a couple of 3D projects featured over there, ways to display ammunition collections. Our first question today, or one of the questions today, was about a 7.62 by 39 AK-47 ammo collection. And this is a tray to display those. Anybody that owns a R&L display, so anybody who's ever been to R&L displays and has bought any kind of firearm display kit from R&L, let me know if you purchased something over at the Gear website store. And do I got a picture over there? I think I do. Boom. And oh, I thought I posted a picture of them. I guess I'll have to post a picture of them still. Oh, wait, did I post a picture of them on YouTube? Where did I post a dang picture of them? I guess I didn't post the picture anywhere. So since I'm in here, I'll mention that BWE Firearms experienced a loss earlier this week, and Black Swan Tactical is put all sales from the store this week from Black Swan Tactical are going to the Hoffman family. So if you're interested in buying something over there, you can as well. Otherwise, oh, it's on Patreon. Thanks. So would you want a patching I made any? I don't know what that means. Something about a typo in there. I'm not sure how to read that one. I'll definitely save you one. I think I just sent you stuff, so I'll save you one from the pile. I made a bunch, and just not sure if I should make any more or not. So I'm gonna, whoever purchases stuff from the store this weekend will get one of them. Otherwise, I'll just send the rest. I'll split them up and send the rest. Oh, heck yeah. Now I get it. Definitely. Thanks. And then we'll trade. But anybody who purchases this weekend, you'll get one. And then whatever's left, I guess is what I'm saying, I'll send to Gizzard and Rob. So, and then we'll see if they ever happen again. But anyway, it was just a project I was playing around with, and figured I'd play around with. So anyway, thanks everybody for showing up live. G23 is live today. Let's just go over to YouTube and take a look at what all's live today real quick. Saturdays are a good day for listening to Second Amendment stuff. If you go over to the subscriptions page, Kingpin is out there posting a video. Always good. Oh, I guess the Daily Bullet just happened. It had Riding Shotgun with Charlie and some other people. I didn't listen to it. I was having internet trouble if you heard the beginning of the show. There's a new combat story. Those are always good. This Riding Shotgun with Charlie is really good. Definitely recommend watching it. There was this. I have, I'm 2 minutes to the end of this one. Horrible situations. Navy SEALs, what are you going to do? Navy, right? But really horrible stuff. And interesting, but horrible. Shame on the Navy. And, you know, whatever, we got to know bad things. I'm sure Army's done bad things once in a while. That was I don't want to say difficult to listen to, but it wasn't good to listen to. You know, we're not a perfect country, and not everybody's perfect. And this was being aware of that. But what am I looking for? I was looking for, I guess she's not posted yet, but you're going to find a Great Start Shooting School will be live this afternoon, probably right after G23. See how hard it is to find people's upcoming live streams sometimes? What is today? Today is, okay, today's the 12th, so she doesn't have one already posted for today. G23, we already mentioned. Is yours already posted already? I don't see it up here. Nope, he doesn't have his posted yet. Oops. Oh, snap. Somebody just bought something. They'll be getting what we're talking about. And then, who else is live today? Oh, Barbecue does a meat show today. He's probably not already posted it, though. He's lazy. And then, oh, you know what else? We're not done. You know what else is happening? Well, first off, Santee will probably do something. She does stuff all dang time. Let's see if she's got anything coming up. Don't need her top keywords. Thank you. Oh, what do we got? What do we got? For 6 o'clock tonight. And I believe she did say, don't show up if you're lightweight, if you're a crybaby. So I don't know what's happening over there tonight, but that'll be in 4 hours. And then this guy, overnight, tonight, middle of the night. Is it going to be amazing? Every single last one has been the best show of the week for the last weeks. 12 hours from now. So you got enough time to go get something to drink, take a nap, get some exercise in, and then get ready for this show. It's going to be great. Am I missing anything? I think that's everything that happens on Saturday and a little bit of extras. Yeah. Tara says I'm doing a video later, maybe a chat, not home yet, fighting traffic. Can't even imagine what it costs yet to fill up them trucks. Is somebody getting that for me? Makojo's out there. This is what it's like when you're doing these videos. Oh, that made me go over and look at the poll at least. So thank you, stupid bot. Suck bot. All right, so we had a poll going. And what is your position on personal legal protection for CCW? And we had, I already have a CCW insurance. I want CCW insurance. I have other forms of legal protection, or I don't have it and don't want it. And we had 17 votes. That's a lot of votes for my polls. And it's pretty much 30, 30, 30. It's 35, 35, 29. 35% have it, 35% don't and don't want it, and 29% want it. Wait, did I say 35% have it already, 35% don't have it and don't want it, and then 29% do want it? So it looks like a good third of the people could care less. Oh, snap. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. That and that other thing is what I made today. So I don't drive nowhere. I'm not really getting killed by stuff except the normal bills, but that's much appreciated. Thank you very much for that. When I turn this off, I'll be going back to posting things on eBay. So there's a whole bunch of eBay stuff. We'll be posting stuff on Etsy, so appreciate it. Still got to make a living here. So appreciate that very much. Thanks for the super chat. Mark just super chatted a bunch of money. Thank you. Oh, hold on. I didn't realize there was a comment in there too. Thank you for all the goodies. Right on. Didn't own a display, but wondered if the little ones would work on the mini revolvers. Oh, snap. That gave me a great idea. So yes, I will make a bigger one. They probably won't work on a mini revolver. I only made them for those little keychains, but I could make a bigger one. Rob should make a bigger one for NAAs because it would need to be made out of something heavier than the NAA, and they're not light. They're dense. So that's a good thing. But I'm going to forward that over to Rob to task him with it. As long as he can get a small enough piece of metal, it doesn't have to be very, strong. It just has to be spring metal, I imagine. But yeah, he could offer a small one if he has an interest in making a small one or whatever. But thanks. All right, so then I'll end the poll. Boom. So Tara drives truck, if you didn't know. $1,500. I have 250-gallon tanks at 6 miles an hour. I watched somebody on Instagram doing a thing, and their fill up was like $1,000. So that was probably, they still had a little gas in their tank or whatever. Crazy. I was actually thinking, I went out to grab some food this morning and from the store and was thinking about filling up. It's 427 in Tucson. So I was thinking, I only have like a quarter tank down or something, but I was thinking, maybe I should fill up because it's not going to get any cheaper anytime soon. I didn't though, but yeah, well, whatever. That's something that is, well, it's a whole other topic, right? We won't get into that an hour and a half in. So even without anybody in here, I went long. So what do you know? So thanks again to Mark. Thanks to whoever grabbed something from the store. That little noise before was somebody buying something from the store. Appreciate it. We'll be here each Saturday. If you'd like to ask a question, just type in Ask Gun Questions into the internet. And ideally, if everything works, it should be the first thing that shows up. And when you go there, you can type in a question over here and you can put in your name. You don't have to. And then you got a link to the current show. So the playlist is down here. We thank our Patreons, and then we offer you some suggestions on some stuff to check out. And that'll change every time you refresh the page over there. So that's AskGunQuestions.com. It's been there since 2007. It's actually looked different over the years. In fact, I was thinking about putting something in there to show what it used to look like back in the day. We might. But anyway, thanks for showing up. Oh, that's totally different. I didn't think about that. I'd have to drill a hole in the barrel, but yeah, that would actually be pretty neat. I didn't think about that. Oh, I should see if those molds still work. I had an idea for those things, and now that you've mentioned that, yeah, I'll see if Rob wants to do some kind of collaboration or something. Because now that you mentioned that, I totally forgot about that. And I might have to make one adjustment to them. Oh, I know how to do it actually. If I were to pour everything and then shove a nail or a pole down in there, that would create the hole. So I don't think I'd even need to drill the hole if I poured it right. Anyway, yeah, thanks for the idea. I don't know when I'll ever get to play with that, but definitely it would hold up one of the plastic ones. Yeah. So if you want to drill a hole in the barrel of that plastic one, then yeah, it would work. All right. So thanks again, everybody. Hope we're going to have a good Saturday. Got other stuff to pay attention. Oh, you know what I forgot? No, I didn't forget. Brooke Cheney is going to have her suicide awareness Saturday show today. And she didn't have it posted. That's why I didn't post it up here. All right. With that, we'll say again for the 50th time, thanks for showing up. Right on. Yeah, some of them the mold actually had a hole. It's just that I would fill it too much, I think.
Tonight's episode, photo finish.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com. Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals at GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching GunWebsites.com.